Hi and welcome to the Possum Stamps Christmas card making series video tutorial. This is Marla with Mad About Cards and Crafts. Today I have a 5x5 watercolored Christmas card for you today, featuring some of the stamps that are available now over in the Possum Stamp store. Here's a look at the two stamp sets I'm using. The first one is called Special Delivery. I'll be using 2 of the stamps from that set. I also have the Deck the Halls. I'll be using the greenery, as well as the sentiment that says Merry Christmas. I'm going to be doing some metallic watercoloring with some new watercolors. These are the beautiful watercolors that were recommended by Christina Warner. They are amazing. Look at that color palette. Is that not jaw-dropping? I had to have these as soon as I saw them, so I did order them from an Etsy store. As I mentioned, because I'm doing some metallic watercoloring, I thought that it was appropriate for me to use some black Stonehenge watercolor paper instead of using white. I really wanted that high contrast for this Christmas card. We're going to be doing some heat embossing with that greenery swag, so I did treat my paper with my anti-static powder. I inked up my stamp using Versamark ink, and then of course I'm adding embossing powder. I thought that silver would be perfect for this card. So I'll put the excess back into my jar. I'll heat up my heat tool for about 30 seconds. I got a couple stray pieces, not too bad, and I'm going to melt that embossing powder. I decided that instead of having the swags come from the top and bottom, I'm actually going to have them come from the side on this card. I thought that that was something that would be just a little bit different. I did get the first piece of greenery a little bit crooked, but I am going to cut down my panel, so I'm not too concerned about that. I straightened out my stamp. I stamped it again, or I inked it again with that Versamark ink, and then of course I'm melting it with my heat tool, and we're going to start with a little bit of watercoloring. This was a really quick and easy process. There isn't a lot of shading. I didn't, because the images, the leaves are small and the images are not really all that big, I didn't feel that I needed to add any shading in here. So my thought process was, I have 3 different styles of greenery. I'll just use all 3 of the colors on each of the images, and that's going to give me a little bit of variety in the tones of the greens, and I'm not going to have to do a lot of shading. So I did start with the mid-tone, and all I'm doing is I spritz the pan with a little bit of water. I do have water in a cup up above where those pans of paint are, and I did wet my paintbrush, and I did not add any extra moisture to my paper. So I'm just going from a wet pan to a dry piece of watercolor paper, and I really, as I mentioned, love the vibrancy of these colors. They did not go over the embossed area, so they didn't cover up, is what I'm trying to say, the embossed area. That silver shows through nicely, and I just think that it gives a card a really nice, elegant feel, having the metallic watercolor as opposed to using just a flat watercolor. I love the festiveness of this particular watercolor palette. As I mentioned, this was a recommendation from Christina Warner. It was something that she had purchased and used. I typically don't buy things on the fly like that, but as you can see, I just looked at those tones of colors. Number one, I don't have any silver watercolors, so that drew my attention immediately, but just again, the vibrancy of these colors was just fantastic. And of course, the sophistication of this greenery swag is just the perfect image for me to be watercoloring. Once I finish with this, I am going to do some more heat embossing. I thought I would use two of the more elegant stamps in the special delivery stamp set. So I did choose to use one of the poinsettias, or actually the poinsettia stamp, and then I'm also going to be using the bell. The sentiment Merry Christmas that was a part of the special delivery set was just a little bit too big for the center between the two stamps. So I did revert over to the Merry Christmas, which was just a little bit smaller. That's in the Deck the Halls stamp set. I did the same process. I inked my images up using Versamark ink, and then I used the same silver embossing powder. And as you can see here, I'm heat setting that as well. Now I'm going to add a little bit more of the vibrancy, and so I'm going to use that really bright pink. I think it's gorgeous, and I'm going to start painting my poinsettia. Again, no shading. I'm simply dropping the color and moving it around inside that image because I do have that heat embossing. It is going to contain the color, so I'm not going to have any contamination of any of the colors mixing together or running together. I'm doing wet on dry again, same technique, just using different colors. Because I did use that dark green on the holly on those swags, I decided that it was appropriate for me to use that same green on both the holly that's on the poinsettias, and then there's a little bit of holly on this bell. I'm using the silver for the base of the bell, and then one of the golds for the bow. I will start adding the gold to the little piece that hangs in the inside of the bell to make it ring, and I don't like it, so I just take some water and my microfiber cloth and I just pick it up, and then I add more of that pewter color. So I'm going to add the pewter because I do have the silver down below. I thought that that pewter color would be perfect for the postage stamp area of the poinsettia, and then I'm going to mimic the pink down at the bottom to add just a little bit more of that consistency with my color combinations, and that's going to add a lot of balance to this panel. If you haven't subscribed to the Possum Stamps YouTube channel, we would absolutely love for you to subscribe and ring the bell so you're notified whenever we do upload a new video. I am going to tell you that this is my last card in the Christmas card series. I hope that you have enjoyed the series. If you haven't subscribed to the blog, that is linked in the description box below. If you haven't seen all of the inspiration on Instagram, oh my word, the design team has just knocked it out of the park. They are so incredibly talented. If you ever created with products and you just look at the other designers that you're surrounded by and you're just in awe by the talent, that is how I have felt over the past 6 months. It has been amazing to see how each of us interpret each of the products over in the Possum Stamp store. The store has some of the most amazing stamps, and I really hope that you have enjoyed watching all of the inspiration and you have subscribed to all 3 of the social media outlets that we participate in. I'm trimming down my card panel. As I mentioned, I'm taking an 1/8 inch off each side, so both the top, bottom, left, and right. I'm making sure that I get this as square as possible, and by taking that 1/4 inch off, it's going to leave me with a card panel that's going to be 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. Now I do have a piece of pink metallic cardstock, or shimmer cardstock, I guess is what you would call it. I did cut the middle out because I don't like to waste my specialty paper. So I do have that piece of cardstock, and then I have my card panel, or my base, which is finished at 5 by 5. It's a top folding card base. I'm going to have 1/8 of an inch of the pink poking out, or peeking out I should say, and 1/8 of an inch of that black peeking out underneath this card panel. Of course, I do like to add a little bit of dimension to my cards, so I'm going to remove this release paper off camera because I always have issues releasing it. And once I get it released, I will center this onto my card base, and look at how pretty that is. I had a couple of iridescent pearls, so I'm going to add 3 to each side of the swag, making sure that they're not evenly across, because of course I didn't want them to be perfectly lined up. And then I did add a smaller one to the center of my poinsettia, and that's going to finish off my card for today. So I hope you did enjoy this card making tutorial. If you did, I would absolutely love for you to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the metallic watercolors. Is it something that you think that you would use? And if so, I hope that you give it a try. So until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for watching, and Merry Christmas.